Another day, another injury for Texas football. Well, this one forced the Longhorns to change their transfer portal plans. We'll discuss next on Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Another spring practice, another spring injury for the Texas Longhorns. Over the weekend, wide receiver Ryan Wingo injured his hamstring and had to leave practice early. We talked about that in yesterday's episode. If you missed that, be sure to check it out. It sounds like Ryan Wingo is going to be out for the rest of the spring. So that was some bad injury news. Now we have more bad injury news. Today, redshirt freshman tight end Jordan Washington left practice early with a reported shoulder injury. Anwar Richardson of Orange Bloods was the first to report. It has been confirmed by a few other outlets. And according to Anwar, Jordan Washington is getting an MRI on that shoulder. He landed awkwardly during practice, and that's where he sustained the injury. Now, the early indications are that Jordan Washington is going to be fine, aka this isn't very serious. No surgery will be required, and this isn't an injury that should linger into the summer and into the fall. But like Ryan Wingo, there's a good chance that Jordan Washington is done for the remainder of the spring. Texas is thin at wide receiver. We touched on that yesterday. Texas is paper thin at tight end. The top three tight ends from 2024 are all gone. Gunnar Helm and Juan Davis are off to the NFL. Of course, Amari Niblack transferred to A&M. So the Longhorns have zero returning production in that tight end room. And Texas went after a couple of guys in the early portal window, most notably Purdue transfer Max Clare, who ended up signing with Ohio State. So not only did he not come to Texas, but Texas will have to go up against Max Clare in the first game of the 2025 season. But the Longhorns went after him, maybe one or two other names, but they ended up with nobody. So they've got no career catches in that tight end room. And as it stands right now, the tight end room is Jordan Washington, Spencer Shannon, Will Randall, and Amari Winston. You've got four-star signing Nick Townsend, who will be here, a part of this number one ranked 2025 recruiting class, but he did not enroll early, so he's not in for spring practice. He won't get here until the summer. So with Jordan Washington out, you're down to three healthy scholarship tight ends. And again, none of those guys have any career catches. Now, Washington and Shannon have been on the field at least. They appeared in a few games in 2024. Will Randall went to Isidore Newman High School with Arch Manning, so maybe that helps. You've got some chemistry there, but from the folks that I've talked to, it doesn't sound like Will Randall is expected to be a big part of things this year or really any year during his Texas career. It kind of sounded like Spencer Shannon and Jordan Washington were in their own tier in this tight end room. And again, Jordan Washington out. I assume Texas is going to be overly cautious with him. So it'll be Spencer Shannon as your top tight end for these next 3 weeks. You've got a couple of walk-ons in the room as well. You think of a guy like Michael Terry III, another true freshman, a part of this number one class. He is in for the spring. He's listed as a wide receiver on the Texas roster, but 6'3", 215 pounds, maybe a guy who could give you some tight end reps. And that was a guy at Alamo Heights High School in the San Antonio area who played a number of different positions on both sides of the ball. So he gives you a little versatility, maybe some position flexibility. Maybe he gets a few snaps at tight end, but I don't know if that's a long-term play. Again, 6'3", he's got the height to be a tight end, but 215 pounds, probably not going to cut it at that position in the SEC, especially considering how much Steve Sarkisian likes to use his tight ends to block. I don't know if a true freshman early enrollee is good enough for that job. So again, Texas likely going to be in the market for a transfer portal wide receiver. I think there's a good chance they are going to be in a market for a transfer portal tight end as well. If you want to lump those into one category and just say Texas needs pass catchers, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think Texas needs 2, if not 3 pass catchers minimum, whether they're wide receivers or tight ends. You probably need one of each just to be safe. Like, Texas has to do more for Arch Manning. He's got a tough enough job trying to be a first-year starting quarterback in the SEC with a trip to Ohio State on the schedule to open up the season. And Texas is already losing a bunch of skill position talent on the offense. Of course, the top 3 receivers are gone. The top 3 tight ends are gone. The best pass-catching running back Texas had in Jaden Blue is also gone. A bunch of offensive line starters don't come back. So it was already going to be tough for Arch Manning. Now he's losing valuable practice time with the top 2 receivers, DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo, and now one of the top tight ends as well with Jordan Washington. It was already going to be a risk for Texas to go into next season without more returning collegiate production. And yeah, now you don't get these extra reps in the spring. Still have 10 practices left in spring ball here in the month of April. Those were valuable reps that are going to be missed by Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, and now Jordan Washington. And you think about how important the tight end position has been in the Texas offense under Steve Sarkisian. Look at what Gunnar Helm did a season ago. 60 catches to lead the team, 786 yards, 7 touchdowns. I mean, he was one of the best tight ends in the country. Well, he's going to be one of the first tight ends off the board when we get to the NFL draft later this month. He was huge for this Longhorn offense and a super reliable target for Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning when he played. And then obviously Jatavion Sanders in the 2 previous seasons. JT had 54 catches in 2022, 45 more in 2023, had 600 plus receiving yards in both of those seasons. The tight end room has been hugely important to the success of the Longhorn offense. And look, I was a little bit nervous going into last year because I wasn't quite sure what Gunnar Helm was going to be. He didn't have a ton of college production, but he played a lot more in 2023 than any of these Texas tight ends have played during their time on the 40 acres. And hell, Gunnar Helm had 2 tight ends and I think 14 catches 2 years ago. So again, there was something there that you could point to give you some hope that this guy was going to be a capable collegiate tight end. Did I think he'd be as good as he was? No, that was a great blessing for the Longhorns last year. But you knew more about Gunnar Helm than you do about any of these guys. And again, Jordan Washington, maybe the truest receiving tight end option that Texas had in the room. He's unable to go for the spring. So I just don't know if you can rely on unproven guys when the expectations are as high as they are for the Longhorns. Like, there are some people around the country that think this is going to be a step back for Texas, considering how much the Longhorns are losing to the NFL. They might have 14, 15, 16 guys drafted here in a couple of weeks. Logic would lead you to believe that maybe it's going to be tough to replicate that kind of success with all of those departures. I don't think anybody hearing the sound of my voice and or watching this video right now is expecting or wanting Texas to take a step back this year. And again, you've got a first-year starter at quarterback playing in the toughest conference in the sport. You want to give that guy as much help as you possibly can. I want this offense to be even better than what it was last year. And I think it can be even better with what Arch Manning gives you with the deep passing game, but also as a dual threat quarterback as well. I think the ceiling for the Longhorn offense in 2025 is higher than it just was in 2024, but you need pass catchers. I don't care how good the quarterback is. If you don't give him enough good receiving threats, whether it's at wide receiver or tight end or in that running back room, then it could cause some problems. I want to see what Spencer Shannon can do. He's 6'7", 240. He's a big body. It's his 3rd year with the program. I mean, if he can run routes and if he's got soft enough hands, then you think about a guy who can help fix some of the red zone issues that plagued Texas last year. Spencer Shannon could be that guy as a ginormous target over the middle of the field. But again, don't know what we're going to get out of him. Will Randall in his 3rd year. Amari Winston, we talked about him. He's an early enrollee freshman, so not sure what the bar should be for him. I think if you're Texas, you need a tight end now too. You need a receiver. You need a tight end. Hell, maybe you need 2 receivers and a tight end. I think you have to have at minimum 2 more pass catchers added to the roster when the portal opens up 2 weeks from today. April 16th is when that spring portal window starts, and I think the Horns will have 2 weeks to make some moves there. I think they're going to have to do something at wide receiver and now at tight end. Oh, by the way, this is 2 episodes in a row where we've talked about injuries in spring ball. Texas hasn't even put the pads on yet. The first day of padded practice is tomorrow. So say a prayer, knock on wood, cross your fingers, whatever you want to do something to ensure that this doesn't get any worse, because Texas, again, pretty thin at the spots where they've suffered some injuries. The good news seems like the injuries to Wingo and Washington aren't very serious. But once again, these are valuable reps that these guys are missing out on, especially when you're trying to break in a new starter at quarterback. I want to hear from y'all. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below with your thoughts. Do you think Texas needs a tight end in the portal? Do you think the Longhorns need a receiver? What would you like for them to add when this portal opens up again 2 weeks from today? All right, there's a little Texas football. Let's get to some better news. Texas basketball has landed its first commitment of the Sean Miller era, and it's a big one. We'll talk about what Dalen Swain is bringing to the Longhorns, and we'll also get into some of the latest rumors surrounding some other Texas targets next on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word from our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order your products online. Their website is super easy to use, and it's packed with helpful resources and all of the latest product info so you can get the job done right. Their inventory has more than 200,000 parts to choose from 400 plus top brands. So you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. So you're always going to talk to a real person when you need to. And for trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And if you use the promo code SH5, you're going to get 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Let's talk a little Texas basketball. The Longhorns have added their first commitment of the Sean Miller era, and it's a good one. Xavier transfer Dalen Swain announced his commitment to Texas yesterday. He was here earlier this week on a visit. He was actually scheduled to take visits to Arkansas and Kentucky, but apparently things went so well here in the ATX that Dalen Swain said, I don't need to go anywhere else. This is where I want to be. 6'8", 220, averaged 11 points, 5.5 rebounds, and nearly 3 assists per game for Sean Miller's Xavier squad this past season. A very efficient scorer as well. Shot 53% from the floor. Versatile wing, a great perimeter defender. He can get you some offense as well. Again, averaged 11 points per game on better than 50% shooting. Not a great three-point shooter. Only shot 25% from beyond the arc last year. I will say this. Go back and watch Xavier's game against Illinois in the NCAA tournament. I know it might hurt because it could have been Texas playing in that one. But Dalen Swain went 3 of 5 from beyond the arc in that game. He scored 27 points to lead all players. Also had 8 rebounds and 3 assists and 3 steals as well. So if you want to see what Dalen Swain can do for the Longhorns next season, go back and watch his final game for Xavier a couple of weeks ago. He was everywhere on both ends of the floor making things happen. He's a great athlete, a guy who can handle the rock. Again, 6'8", like Jason Kent was 6'8". That guy couldn't handle the rock. Dalen Swain is comfortable. You can run some offense through him. You can do some big pick and rolls, which I think could open some things up for this Texas offense. Obviously, we got to see who the other bigs are going to be. We don't know that as of right now. But defensively, Dalen Swain, because of the wingspan, because of the athleticism, he's a guy that can switch 1 through 5. That really helps you run an effective defense in college basketball, right? Because teams will try to attack you. They'll try to get switches onto weaker defenders. Dalen Swain's got the length, and he's got the foot speed and quickness to stick with just about anybody on the floor. So I say all of those things to tell you that this is a great get for Sean Miller, a likely day one starter for Texas next season. He was one of the best players on a quality Xavier team, and he played in the Big East, right? Sometimes with transfer players. Speaking of Jason Kent, how about Julian Larry? Those guys coming from Indiana State, a mid-major program. they couldn't quite make the jump to the SEC. Those guys weren't nearly as effective for Texas as they were at ISU. Well, the Big East is one of the best conferences in college basketball. Dalen Swain is battle-tested. I mean, Xavier had to play St. John's a couple of times. They had to play Creighton a couple of times. They had to play Marquette a couple of times. So this guy has had success against some very good teams. Obviously, we talked about the Illinois game as well. This is one of the top guys that was out there in the portal and one of the top guys that I wanted Sean Miller to bring along with him from Xavier. Some more good news, not as impactful. We won't spend too much time talking about this, but Malik Presley is expected to return to Texas from San Marcos originally. So a local kid, started his college career at Vanderbilt, transferred to Texas before last season, didn't play at all a season ago. So I don't expect Malik Presley to have much of a role this coming year, but you just need bodies. You're losing so much. You need some guys to just fill out a roster that you don't have to go out and pay for. And that's what Malik Presley is. So good news that he is returning. Another interesting nugget here. Keep an eye on this one. Texas hosted five-star shooting guard Matthew Abel yesterday. He might still be here. I'm not sure. He's a high schooler. Again, five-star. Was originally committed to Miami. When they fired Jim Larinaga, he reopened his recruitment. So he's part of this class of 2025. Wherever he signs, he's going to be available to play this next season. He's 6'5", 190. Again, a five-star, ranked as the 26th overall player in the country, according to the 24/7 composite rankings. He's been visiting everywhere. He was in NC State yesterday. He's looked at Baylor. He's looked at Alabama. He's looked at Tennessee. Again, a five-star, a top 30 player in this class. He's a hot commodity out there on the recruiting trail. But this would be a big get for Texas. And this is kind of interesting because Matthew Abel was not considering Xavier when Sean Miller was there. And he really wasn't looking at Texas when Rodney Terry was here. So I guess the combination of Sean Miller and the Longhorns has opened the door and given Texas a chance to at least get Matthew Abel to come to campus and take a visit. This would be great because right now you only have one freshman coming in. It's four-star power forward John Clark, who did say he's sticking around despite the coaching change. So that's good. We were all worried after Rodney Terry got let go that John Clark, who signed with RT, was going to request a release from his NLI and maybe look around. He's going to stay. If you add Matthew Abel, that turns into a pretty good class right there for Texas, bringing in a four-star and a five-star. So I think it'll be a couple of days before we get an Abel decision. We'll see if the Longhorns are able to get him to put pen to paper. You see what I did there? That's terrible. I don't deserve any credit for that. I'm sorry y'all had to hear that. But keep an eye out on that name. And we'll see what else is next. Some bad news. Xavier's other top transfer, Ryan Conwell, committed to Louisville last night. Sharpshooter, averaged 17 points per game, shot 41% from three last year. Maybe the best two-guard in the portal. He's going to Louisville. I don't think that's an indictment on Sean Miller or anything like that, right? I mean, Ryan Conwell has transferred 4 times, so he hasn't been loyal to a coach. He just tends to go wherever he feels is the best for him. And Louisville's got a lot of money, and they have been spending it. So good get for Pat Kelsey and company. Would have loved to have had him here in Texas. Unfortunately, not going to happen. We'll see what's next. I mean, Texas has offered a number of different portal players. We'll spend some more time in a future video talking about some of those names. Obviously, Kendall Weaver we're still waiting on an official decision from him, but more work to do for Sean Miller and company. Go get a point guard. Get Kendall Weaver to come back. Go get a couple of big men. A lot of work for Sean Miller, but again, a great start with Dalen Swain, and I think more good news is going to be coming our way in the not-too-distant future. All right, little Texas basketball chatter for you on a Wednesday show. Let's shift gears here. Talk a little Texas baseball. Man, Texas baseball and midweek games go together like oil and water. The Longhorns lost another midweek game last night. Should it be cause for concern with number 3 Georgia coming to town this weekend? We will debate next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, traveling, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over all of your finances. This is not just a budgeting app here. This is a complete financial command center. So you can track everything all in one place, your accounts, your investments, your spending, All of it's right there. If you've got a bunch of cards, if you've got multiple accounts, you don't have to worry about opening up a bunch of different apps anymore. It's all right there in one place. So you can stop just managing your money and start actually building wealth. It is super convenient. If you've got a partner, it makes it easy to put all of your accounts in one place, and you'll realize how much money you're spending on a bunch of unnecessary stuff as well. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, Locked On College is the promo code, the website, monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Yes, indeed. It's your team every day. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, little Texas baseball conversation. And boy, I hope you were doing something better with your Tuesday night than watching that debacle at UFCU Dish Falk Field last night. Texas absolutely choked away a victory against Texas State, and the Longhorns lose to the Bobcats for the fourth straight time. It's the fourth straight home loss, I should say, for Texas baseball against Texas State. They've won some games in San Marcos recently, but I don't know what it is about the Bobcats. They're not having a great year this year. They still come into the Dish and find a win. It was frustrating. Texas was up 2-1 at the stretch. Texas State didn't have a hit for the first 7 2/3 last night. We'll start with the bottom of the 7th before we get to where things really fell off the rails in the 8th. The Longhorns up 2-1, had runners on 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. Chance to extend the lead. In that situation, you expect 2. You got to get 1, but you think you're getting 2, especially against a team like Texas State. The Longhorns didn't score any. And it's still a 2-1 game. Texas State gets a little bit of momentum going into the top of the 8th inning, and then the Longhorns defense just fell apart. Texas, they made 2 errors. The official score said there are 2 hits. In my mind, the Longhorns made 2 errors. Just horrible defense. Texas State got its first hit of the game with 2 outs in the top of the 8th inning. It was a double. And then a fly ball to deep center field was dropped by Will Gasparino. It turned into a triple. They called it a triple. It was an error. Ask Will Gasparino. He'd be the first to tell you that that's a play he should have made. It hit off his glove, and the tying run scores to make it 2-2. The go-ahead run goes to 3rd. The next batter grounds one pretty weakly to 3rd. Casey Borba, who is in for an injured Adrian Rodriguez, he kicks the ball, and the go-ahead run scores, and then the next batter hits a 2-run homer to make it 5-2, and that was your dagger. So the Longhorns, again, had a chance to extend the lead in the bottom of the 7th. They don't take advantage, and then they completely crap the bed in the top of the 8th, for lack of a more politically correct phrase, and the defense did them in. And that's weird, because this Texas defense got off to a sluggish start, but they've really cleaned some things up. But you look at some of these midweek games, the loss to UTSA 2 weeks ago, the loss to Texas State last night, just some inopportune defensive miscues from some very good defensive players have been brutal for this Texas baseball team. And they struggled at the plate last night. No Max Ballou. We talked about that in yesterday's episode. Max Ballou, the preseason All-American, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, he's going to be out for probably the remainder of the regular season at minimum with a fractured thumb. Adrian Rodriguez did not play last night either. Still, Texas has enough bats, and Rylan Galvan was in the lineup. You figured that should have been enough to beat Texas State, but the Longhorns just couldn't get those timely hits. 4 for 17 with runners on base, 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Hell, they had some chances in the bottom of the 9th. They made it 5-3. They had the bases loaded with just 1 out with the heart of the order coming up. Will Gasparino popped out, and then Kimball Schuessler lined out softly to second base to end the game, and that was all she wrote. I mean, Texas out-hit Texas State 8-3, but they couldn't take advantage of their opportunities on offense, and then, some bad blunders defensively, wasting a fantastic performance from starting pitcher Cade Bing, who didn't allow a hit in 6 1/3. He did give up a run because he had 3 walks, and the early Texas State run came on a sac fly. But you can't ask for much more from a Tuesday starter. 6 1/3, just 1 run allowed on 0 hits. You got no business losing that game to a team like Texas State. And look, it's frustrating. You feel like Texas State should never beat you. I'm not going to overreact to one game, but it's a bad loss. And again, Texas State was 12-15 going into yesterday. I'm here to tell you they're not as good as number 3 Georgia, who you'll have to play next. Now, here's some good news for Texas. The last time the Longhorns lost a midweek game to an in-state school down I-35, the Horns responded and took 2 of 3 from LSU in a top 5 series. So hopefully history can repeat itself and lightning can strike twice in the same spot. Texas is going to need to do some of the same this weekend. But again, you've got a top 3 team and a team that you're tied with for first in the conference coming to town. Not a lot of confidence after you lose to a 12-15 Texas State squad. And of course, you still have number 2 Arkansas on the schedule. You've got Auburn, Kentucky, Oklahoma. A&M's not very good, but tougher teams on the slate than Texas State. So that was frustrating. The good news, we're looking for silver linings from last night. The pitching was great. Georgia's one of the best offensive teams in America, maybe the best offensive team in the country. They lead the country in home runs, 79 in 30 games, which just feels made up. They're second in slugging percentage, second in on-base percentage. I know Texas didn't use any weekend arms last night, but still good to see the Longhorn pitching staff get the job done. They've been doing that all year under first-year pitching coach Max Weiner. But, yeah, the offense has to pick it up. The defense has to get things turned around because the level of competition, needless to say, goes way, way up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll obviously preview more of the Texas-Georgia series as we get later in the week. The Horns 23-4 on the year. It's weird. They're in the toughest conference in the sport. They've only lost 1 game in the SEC. They've got 2 midweek losses to UTSA and Texas State. Frustrating, but I guess you'd rather lose those than lose games in your conference. We just have to hear it from our Bobcat and Roadrunner brethren here in Central Texas. I think Texas will be fine. But again, frustrating, disappointing, whatever you want to call it, loss last night at the Dish. Better days to come. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. For your next listen, be sure to check out Locked On College Basketball, with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. The Final Four just a few days away. You want to be the most informed college basketball fan there is. Check out Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll have more Texas football news, notes, and nuggets tomorrow, the latest with Texas basketball. We'll start to preview Texas women's basketball's Final Four matchup against South Carolina, which, of course, is just 2 days away. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Please like this video. Please rate. Please subscribe. All of those great things. Again, thank you so much for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.